Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Cookie. I am Jamez, and it's been about a month since I decided to switch to the M2 MacBook Air. Well, actually, it's been about 2 or 3 months since I switched to the MacBook Air from the M1 MacBook Pro, and I've seen some complete differences about them, and I did talk about it in this video right here. This video is going to be explaining the more in-depth of the differences between the M2 MacBook Air and the M1 MacBook Pro. And we're going to answer the question is the MacBook Pro obsolete in 2023? So a little side story before we get started. The whole reason I made this video is because when I was going to get this computer, I was stumped between fixing my MacBook Pro and just buying a whole laptop in general. Now, I could have went back to an M1 MacBook Air like I originally had back in this time last year, or I could have bought another M1 MacBook Pro or another MacBook Pro just with the M2 chip. And while I was gonna go that route of getting another MacBook Pro, I decided maybe I don't need a Pro. So I looked between the differences, and honestly, they seemed very similar. They both have the 8-core CPU and GPU. My spec MacBook Pro does. And honestly, when we were in the Apple Store debating on what I wanted to do, the employee that was talking to me personally said a lot of him and his employees and colleagues went from the MacBook Pro to the MacBook Air because it was just as fast and just as good. And me originally, that's why I went with the M1 MacBook Air instead of the M1 MacBook Pro, because there wasn't really a difference between the one that I had. This original MacBook Pro that I have was my sister's, and the screen broke, and then I had an M1 MacBook Air. The only difference between these two was honestly just the touch bar. That's why I got the MacBook Pro instead of just buying another one, I don't know. But that's not what I'm going to talk about this part right now. Let's start talking about the specs of the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. And for this video, I'm going to be talking about not the M1 Pro, because honestly, this is a little bit different from, this isn't the spec down MacBook Pro I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be talking about personally the new ones, the M2 Pro and the M2 Ultra MacBook Pros. Maybe the M1s and M1 Pro might pop up here a little bit, but I'm just talking about the newest and latest. The new M2 MacBook Air comes with an 8-core GPU, an 8-core CPU, with 4 performance and efficiency cores, and a 16-core Neural engine. Or it comes in an option of 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU. It also comes with 8 GB of RAM, and it can be upgraded to 16 GB or 24 GB of RAM, which is a lot different than my 2015 MacBook Air, just saying. I don't even know what you could expect that out to. The new Air has an updated screen, an all-new 13.6 Liquid Retina display with a resolution of 2560 to 1664 at 224 pixels per inch and 500 nits of brightness. What does that mean? I personally don't know. The new M2 Air also comes with an upgraded 1080p FaceTime camera that came with the new 24-inch M1 iMac. So it has better quality. I've personally I've loved the 1080p camera. It's way better than the other MacBooks I've had. It has about 18 hours battery life and comes with a 30-watt charger and can be upgraded to a 35-watt charger, and it has MagSafe. I'm currently using my old MacBook Pro battery adapter, so that's about, I think, 67 watts. Now let's talk about the MacBook Pro. The new MacBook Pro comes in 14 or 16 inches. You can either get an M2 Pro with a 10-core CPU and a 16-core GPU, 16-core Neural engine and 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, and can be upgraded to a 12-core CPU, 19-core GPU, 16-core Neural engine, and 8 performance cores with 4 efficiency cores. Or you can get the M2 Max chip with 12-core CPU, 30-core GPU, and a 16-core Neural engine with 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. Or you can upgrade the M2 Pro to a 38-core GPU. This new MacBook has the screen resolution of 3024 by 1964 with 254 pixels per inch, which I believe is 4K. Someone put that in the comments if I'm right. The base model comes with 16 GB of RAM and can be upgraded to a 32 or 64 GB of RAM. The M2 Max can have 64 or 96 GB of RAM, which is just overkill. The base storage is 512 GB and can be upgraded to 1 TB, 2 TB, 4 TB, or 8 TB of storage, which again is also overkill, unless you actually need it. And really the differences between the M2 Air and the MacBook Pros are honestly the ports. It's honestly the outside that's kind of a little bit different, that isn't so different. It's what's on the inside that counts. The differences between the Air Pro are, they're different. They're not the same computer, even though they look the same. The differences is prices, ports, color variety, options of upgradability. The biggest difference between the Air and the Pro isn't the chips. As well, I'm gonna talk more into them performance-wise and how they do Geekbench-wise. It's actually the amount of ports. In reality, even though I said that. The MacBook Air from previous generation only brought over one port, and that's the MagSafe port. It doesn't come with the other ports that it came with previously or that the MacBook Pro had. Last year with the redesign of the MacBook Pro, they brought back old ports like the HDMI, the SD card slot. They brought back those two ports that I know of so far. Me personally, from using the M1 MacBook Air and the M1 Pro, I got used to using a dongle. I didn't really use an external monitor for extra space on the screen. I didn't use like extra drives to like edit videos or anything. I honestly just used it for moving SD card files over. And honestly, and if I'm going to display my screen on something like my TV, all of my stuff is AirPlay around here. Or I'm just gonna use the dongle with HDMI. It's not a big deal. I don't see, honestly, why a lot of people were upset that they got rid of the ports, even though at the same time I do. And I still I'm feeling my old MacBook Pro because this computer is just as fast, if not just a little bit faster than the M1. The new MacBook Pro also got rid of Touch Bar, which I don't know why they did. I mean, it was pretty cool. I kind of wish they brought over Touch Bar on the Air too at this point, but I'll get back to not using the Touch Bar again. Looking at the M2 Air and Next Gen Pro, they look identical. The only difference is literally the chips and upgradability. Now I want to get into this part and talk about the performance. I'm going to start with the M1 series and go on to the end, and then we're going to go on to the M2. The M1 Pro got a Geekbench score of 39,758, the M1 Max got a score of 64,708, and the M1 Ultra got a score of 94,583. And I'm gonna point this out now, the M1 Ultra beats out the M2 Pro and M2 Max, but the only way you can get an M1 Ultra chip is if you buy a Mac Studio. Now the M2 Pro has a score of 52,691 and the M2 Max has a score of 86,805, which sounds good, but the M1 series of chips are just as good as the M2 chips, and even laptops from 2020 that still have like the Intel chips are just as good still. Maybe even 2018 MacBooks are just as good. I used my 2015 MacBook Air from launch till 2021 when I upgraded to the M1 Air. And I expected that computer was gonna last me 2026-ish, 2027. But it was a good attempt because I had to upgrade to a Pro for my sister. And then I had to upgrade again because the screen broke because I was. The whole reason I got a new one because it was like halfway up to a new one anyway. So you don't really need the latest and greatest brand new from Apple unless you're willing to spend the money. So let's answer the question. Is the MacBook Pro obsolete? No, not yet at least. Do I see like the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro going obsolete? Maybe one of them if they're gonna like make everything more powerful. Maybe. I wouldn't even see a point of them making one of those again. If they brought over the ports that they brought over from the Pro to the Air, then I would say yes, the MacBook Pro is obsolete and I don't see why you would get it. Unless you actually need the CPU power in that computer. If you're not doing hardcore rendering, you're not using 4 to 5 external displays at like 4K, and just basically doing what I'm doing with my MacBook Air, and that's just like schoolwork, editing videos, even in 1080p, just, you know, using it maybe as if you were using your old computer, if you were just like doing like schoolwork and all that, I would say go for the MacBook Air. And I think I forgot to mention the MacBook Air M2 Geekbench scores, so here they are. You're welcome. You don't really need it if you're not gonna use external displays. If you're gonna use like 8 external display, buy a dongle. Unless you're willing to spend the extra money on the MacBook Pro just to get the extra bit of power and the extra ports, go for it. go right ahead. I'm not stopping you. At the end of the day, this video is useless. It just makes me get content. It makes it entertaining for you guys. This is the actual video. I actually spent like almost a month doing research on this actually. Not even kidding, but also I procrastinated on writing a script. So thank you guys for watching this video, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you have opinions, your opinion, put it down in the description below. I'd love to read them. Recommend what else you want to see on this channel. This channel is literally not just gonna be Apple related. I promise you. We will get some other stuff from the tech community in this channel. So thank you guys for watching. Go subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to all the other channels in on the studio. Click around. The middle should be the subscribe button, and on the sides should be videos that I recommended and then maybe YouTube recommended. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.